What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So I tell you guys, I read the comments, and I generally, when I find a good comment, I'll do a video on that comment. And so I found a comment that was talking about, can you compare the CPI-E to the CPI-W? And I was doing some research. I found this great article by Devin Carroll. Now, if you guys don't know Devin Carroll, he does have a YouTube channel. He talks about Social Security. And so I highly recommend going over to his channel. Tell him I sent you, subscribe to his channel, hit his little bell notification. That way you'll get his notifications. And then also listen to some of the stuff he says, his content, because it's very, very good when it comes to Social Security. He's been doing it for a very long time. But he also has a blog here, which I didn't know about. And we're going to talk a little bit about the CPI-E compared to the CPI-W. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell notification and click all when you hit the little bell notification. That way you'll get notified anytime I put out a video. We do daily videos here, so you want to get those daily updates. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. First thing I need to do is switch over my screen. And here is the article here that he wrote about CPI-E compared to CPI-W. Okay, now, if you guys don't know what we're talking about here, let me explain just a little bit when it comes to the CPI-W. The CPI-W is for wage earners, okay? The CPI-E is for the elderly. And this is basically the easiest way to think about this. It's an index. And what they're doing is just think of a shopping cart. A shopping cart has all these different products in it. You go in a grocery store, you put all these different products in, and they're just making a comparison of those products. They're going back last year, how much did it cost last year compared to how much does it cost this year. And that's how they're getting these scores, these CPI scores that you're hearing about. And so you have these two different shopping carts, I guess. And for the most part, the shopping cart is pretty much the same, but it's the amount of products that you're getting change, okay, when it comes to these two indexes. So the CPI-E, it's pretty much the same, but you're ordering a little bit more when it comes to healthcare, ordering a little bit more when it comes to certain products. Okay, I'm trying to make this as easy as possible, so hopefully you guys understand it. Okay, so and before we even get started, let me just come back to this because I want you guys to understand exactly what we're trying to find out when it comes to this CPI-E and CPI-W. So right now they use the CPI-W. So they're using the CPI-W for wage earners. What some Congress people are talking about is switching over to the CPI-E. CPI-E is for the elderly. And it has more of an emphasis on the elderly when it comes to that shopping cart. And so that's what we're talking about here. Should we be using the CPI-E when it comes to Social Security COLA, or should we be using the CPI-W? Okay, so let's go back over and take a look at this article here. So when we're looking at the shopping cart, like I said, there's a shopping cart that's involved in this whole thing when it comes to this index, both indexes. So housing, transportation, food and beverages, medical care, recreation, education and communication, apparel, other goods and services. Okay, this is what's in the shopping cart. Okay, these are the categories that are in the shopping cart for CPI-W as well as CPI-E. Okay, and so the only difference, and this is pretty small. Maybe I'll be able to zoom in just a little bit. Through the magic of YouTube. But when it comes down to it, when you're looking at some of these different goods, you'll see the CPI-W here is in blue. You see the weight, okay? How are they weighing this? Different percentages. So the CPI-W, when it comes to apparel, it's a little bit higher for the CPI-W than it is CPI-E. And that's mainly because in these categories, if I'm working, I need to buy a lot of clothes, right, for work. So the elderly, the CPI-E, you don't have to have a high percentage when it comes to that, right? When it comes to other goods and services, the CPI-E is a higher percentage. And when it comes to medical care, okay, this is a big one. Medical care, you're going to have CPI-E is going to be at a much higher percentage, okay? And that's because elderly people tend to need medical care more, right? So that's basically what we're looking at. Housing, same thing, it's more, 44% to, what is that, 39 or 38%. This is very, very small print. So what I'll do, like I said, I'll hopefully I can enlarge this so you guys can see it better. But that's what we're looking at. So it's very similar, but in certain categories like medical care and housing, it does go up, okay, for the CPI-E. Now, when I say go up, what I mean is they're taking more percentage of that area. Now, looking here, in this graph here, and Devin Carroll did a very, very good job of laying this out, and so you can understand it. And so the CPI-E is in blue, the CPI-W is in red. And so looking at this, we're looking at the different scores every year. Okay, and he went back to 1984. And you see that in most situations, well, I wouldn't even say most. Yeah, in most situations, just looking at this, the blue is higher than the red. So that would mean that the COLA for the CPI-E, or I won't even say most, or a lot. I'm not going to say most. It looks pretty close. But the blue is higher than the red, which means the CPI-E, if you were using that for your calculation for COLA, you would receive more. Okay, does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. And so looking at this, you see the blue, especially when we're looking back in the 1980s and the 1990s, you see the blue is higher than the red. And so that would mean that COLA would have been higher if they used the CPI-E compared to using the CPI-W. Okay. Now, in the last, we're starting looking at something like this here. Was it 2000? Is that 2005? 2005 or 2006? You saw CPI-W was higher. And then you see what we're looking at, but we'll look at the last one here. So 2021, it would have actually been higher if you use the CPI-W. Okay. So if we use the CPI-E last year, COLA wouldn't have been 5.9%. It would have been less. Okay. But overall, the CPI-E would give you a higher COLA, and it's by 0.2%. Okay. So not that much when it comes down to it. And I've been doing calculations. If you guys haven't seen the calculation videos that I've been doing, make sure I'll post a link at the end of this video. Make sure you go over and you check out those calculations, and you'll see what 0.2% really is. It's generally not that much. We're talking in most cases, 0.2% is like $2, maybe $3. In some cases, it might only be $1. That's still good. It's better than the alternative, but the only problem is you have to look at what about those years where the CPI-W is much higher. What are we looking at on those years as far as COLA? And so that is the danger. And Devin Carroll goes over this in the article where it's like Congress they've talked about it. You have some Congress people talking about it. I think it's very popular to talk about because it looks like you're trying to make some big changes to Social Security. But in all reality, it's not going to be that big of a change when it comes down to it. And it could go the opposite way. It could be a situation where it looks good now, but then you get it, and then you start or they make the change, and then they start realizing, okay, the CPI-W is winning out a lot more. So you would be getting a lot more, or I won't say a lot more. You'll be getting more if you go with the CPI-W than if you go with the CPI-E. So a really, really good article, and I'll post a link so you can check this article out and go over to his channel, go over to his YouTube channel. Like I said, he puts out a lot of good content when it comes to Social Security. But all in all, someone asked me about that, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the CPI-E versus the CPI-W, and they're very, very close when it comes to the numbers, and we just showed you there over since 1984, 1985. This is what we've seen as far as the differences between the CPI-E and the CPI-W. If you guys have any other questions, let me know down below, and get prepared. Next week is going to be a really, really busy week when it comes to information, and I will be there putting out that information as soon as we find out the numbers on October 13th. We're going to find out the numbers when it comes to COLA. I'll be there. I'll let you guys know what that is. And then I'm going to start doing some calculations from there so we can really let people know exactly what they should be receiving based on how much money they're receiving in currently in Social Security's SSI, SSDI veterans. So if you guys have any other questions, post them down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.